Striking has long been a part of union history, and it can be a powerful tool when used properly. But who decides to go on strike? And has it always been used for good? My name is Siena, and in this episode, we're talking about the real implications of striking and how some unions, like the one in Colorado's District 11, use striking to manipulate and hurt the workers they claim to care about. Is this worker power or just union delusion? Let's talk about it.
Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look.
Now, there's not really a whole lot of historical context to set up on this topic, but I'll give you the few grains that I think are important to touch on before we keep going. Striking has generally always been around because it was used by workers to really put a foot down when things needed to change. Back when workers were dying in factories while on the job or working 100-hour weeks, striking was a very loud and effective way of telling an organization, hey, you need to fix this or we're out. Importantly, too, striking wasn't like an exciting thing that people hoped for because it meant not working and therefore not getting paid and potentially probably damaging workplace relationships. Also, the stakes here are that it was stressful and scary, but necessary to protect workers' rights and their livelihood. Now compare that to the attitude around striking today. If you are like me and you keep up with labor and education news, you've probably seen that there is a distinct difference in tone. Unions nowadays, I would venture so much to say, are proud of striking. Oftentimes what I tend to see in the news and articles that I read is that union leadership will claim early on that they want peaceful and productive organizations and conversations. And then a month later, they will have escalated the situation so much that they have no choice. It becomes necessary to strike. Today, striking is being used as a manipulation tactic because, like I've said before, unions base a lot of their dialogue and a lot of their agenda in logical fallacies because they don't want you to think. They want you to just do. Case in point, let me tell you about the trouble that's brewing in Colorado's District 11 school system. District 11 is located in Colorado's El Paso County, in which there are 17 school districts, and District 11, also referred to as D11, is the only one who has a master agreement with a union. D11 is also the only district who is currently facing a strike. In December of 2024, the D11 school board voted not to renew its master agreement they had with the union, the Colorado Springs Education Association, or CSEA. The district has been unionized in a master agreement for about 60 years, and while the current iteration of the contract is hard to trace back to a distinct beginning because discussions have been perpetually ongoing, what we do know is that the union's reach in this system goes deep. But just because something is tradition doesn't mean that it's the best course of action. So, in 2024, in December, the board discussed, voted, and decided of their own free will not to renew the agreement with the union going forward. And really, that should be the end of the story. But not to a single person's surprise, the union, as let's all say with me now, they're drama queens. And create drama they certainly did. After that December meeting of the D11 school board, the timeline of events until now is as follows. CSEA members adjourned for a meeting in early 2025, the early months, January, February, to discuss the master agreement ending, and they decided in that meeting when they adjourned to do nothing. Then, out of nowhere, in the first week of May of 2025, the union leaders called upon their membership to vote on a strike that would be held in the fall of 2025 in response to the agreement ending. They voted on this strike by handing out physical half sheets of copier paper that members had to pick up, mark down physically on, and turn into a voting box that looks about as secure as a third-grade art project. They also gave their members 4 days to complete this entire cycle of voting, and then they counted the votes and tried to claim a 91% victory success in favor of the strike. There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, this is about as unsecure and irresponsible as a union election could get. Why does CSEA choose to use a physical voting system with half sheets of copier paper when anyone could tell you that they could get a more secure, verified, and greater turnout if they send out something as simple as an email to their members? Doing a physical, easily hacked voting system, I propose to you, implies that CSEA's top priority is not voting integrity, but something else entirely. Second of all, CSEA claims a 91% victory, but they won't tell anyone how many members, actually voted. This means as few as literally 5 members could have voted to strike. What does it say that CSEA is parading around this 91% victory, yet won't tell anyone how many people actually voted? CSEA, if you have nothing to hide, why are you hiding this? Lastly, I have a picture of the actual paper ballot that CSEA passed around to their members to vote on this strike. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put up a picture of the ballot on screen right now. If you're just listening, I'm going to describe to you in great detail what this ballot says so you can really get the gravity of how ridiculous this is. It is literally a half sheet of paper that says at the top, CSEA/CSESPA 1-day unfair labor practice strike ballot. Notably, it omits any spot to write your name, maybe a union ID number perhaps, or any way to authenticate or identify who was in possession of this ballot and any way to authenticate the vote, period. There are 2 boxes available to check. The first one says, quote, "Yes, I authorize the Colorado Springs Education Association Executive Board to call for a 1-day unfair labor practice strike if necessary in the fall of 2025, close quote. The second box below it says, quote, "No, I am fine with the way things are and I am okay with the school board breaking the law. I do not authorize the Colorado Springs Education Association Executive Board to call for a 1-day unfair labor practice strike in the fall of 2025, close quote." Oh, God. Y'all smell that? That smells like a logical fallacy. If you caught it, what the union is doing here is that they are manipulating their members into thinking that there are only 2 options: to go on strike or be okay with the D11 school board breaking the law. CSEA, baby, there's many other options you can pursue before defaulting to a strike. In fact, here's one that you may not have considered yet. It's called growing the hell up and acting like an adult when things don't go your way instead of throwing a tantrum. And along with that, a very important thing to note about CSEA's tantrum here is that they claim the school board is breaking the law, but they do not disclose what alleged law the school board is breaking. And even until this point, they have not said what exact unfair labor practice they are supposedly striking against. You know why they can't tell you? You know why they can't say it? Because there isn't one. They are being as vague as possible while misleading their members because they want to promote that the only proper solution to the problem is the one that they are promoting. They do this because they know the strike isn't a solution to anything. This strike is not about pay or benefits or workplace conditions. In fact, D11 actually handed out a massive raise this past year for teachers, so we know that the strike, honest to God, isn't about any workplace attributes. And if we know that, we are left wondering, what is the point of CSEA's strike? What in the actual are they trying to accomplish right now with this? Think about that as I tell you another layer of the story. On average, 1 in 5 teachers in Colorado do not return to the same school district the following year. Therefore, 1 in 5 teachers who voted in favor will not have to face the challenges or repercussions of the strike that they supported. CSEA, on the off chance they don't have rocks for brains, must know this. And they know that they are pushing for a strike that will only hurt the teachers who choose to stay. This strike isn't about workplace conditions or even fair pay or really anything about the teachers themselves. It is the union throwing a fit that they don't get to be all up in D11's business anymore. They are even claiming it's in the face of an unfair labor practice, but aren't telling us what the unfair labor practice is. They even tried to organize demonstrations in February of this year where they attempted to say that ending this agreement will somehow hurt students. Here's a clip of the news coverage on the walkout.
Members of Colorado Springs Education Association gathered outside of McAuliffe Elementary and schools across District 11 for a solidarity walk today. The walk is a response to the district's decision to end its nearly 60-year-long contract with the association. The district says CSEA should not get to make decisions on behalf of the district and has no accountability to the voters. CSEA members and teachers at McAuliffe say it's the students who will really suffer.
And only few of the schools in this district actually had participation. And even then, there were only a handful of teachers at each location who participated. These demonstrations were meant to push back on the board's vote to end collective bargaining, and they claimed that the bargaining agreement actually somehow protects students. But all this really shows to me is that the union is more concerned about protecting their money and their access to power than student achievement. Sorry, CSEA, you might need to explain this to me, but let's see. Coercing and manipulating teachers into not showing up for work helps students how exactly? I want to add here that out of all 17 school districts in El Paso County, D11 ranks dead last in student testing scores. And in all of Colorado school districts, which there's over 180 by the way, D11 has consistently been at the bottom of that pile too. I offer you here that the common denominator in all of this chaos is CSEA. And now the district has rightfully made a choice to end negotiations, the union is panicking. They don't have grounds to strike over things like wages and benefits and working conditions. So instead, they have created this artificial controversy that in no way relates to protecting teachers, supporting them, the teaching profession, or their beloved students. There's an infamous quote from Albert Shanker, who is the former president of United Federation of Teachers. Shanker once said, quote, "When school children start paying union dues, that's when I'll start representing the interests of school children," close quote. And there's another saying that comes to mind too. Every dog has a few fleas. and I think we found Colorado's. The fight for tomorrow starts today, and it's time to show unions what we're made of. Some related articles and news coverage about this story are linked in the episode description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time right here at the new Frontline.